We are thrilled once again to be joined by our good friend and NFL on CBS NFL analyst, the great Amy Trask, who's nice enough to join us as she does every single Wednesday. And Amy, it was kind of a quiet NFL trade deadline yesterday. Listen, you lived this in all your years in the National Football League. What are some of the difficulties in making an in-season trade?
Well, look, there are difficulties as relates to business issues, of course. But one of the things that always struck me were the personal issues that players confront. Phone rings, you're told you're traded. You've got very, very, very little time to pack up and leave for your new destination. Most often they want you to do it that day. And Adam, look, I get it. Players are highly compensated, and this is part of the job. And there are certainly people that are not as highly compensated that have to do such things. And certainly the men and women in our armed forces can be sent off at a moment's notice. And I'm not in any way trying to suggest that they are remotely equivalent. But the fact is there are personal issues associated with a trade. Players may have family matters that are such that it's difficult to leave. But you get that phone call. Ding-a-ling-a-ling, that's how phones used to ring. You're traded, and you've got to get on a plane and go immediately. So, I was always cognizant of that, and I think that when addressing a trade, which is a fact of life in the NFL, you have to share the information compassionately and in a personal manner. And we had one trade at the Raiders. We traded a linebacker, Kirk Morrison. He had family in the area. He had purchased season tickets for his dad, who came to every game. And when we made the business decision to trade him, Al Davis picked up the phone and called Kirk personally to share that information. And I don't know that many other owners, if any, would do that.
That's a great anecdote and a classy thing for you and for Al and for the Raiders to do. It doesn't always happen that way in the National Football League. Amy, I'm curious to get your take on the Green Bay Packers. Were you surprised that they didn't make a trade to help Aaron Rodgers? And do you think currently, as is, they have enough to get to the Super Bowl?
I was not surprised. Of course, whether or not to make a trade involves both a cost-benefit analysis. What's the cost of the trade? What is the perceived benefit? And an analysis of short-term goals versus long-term planning. So that said, and again, not surprised at all, when you have a talent like Aaron Rodgers on your roster, generational talent, you might also want to factor into that analysis not only cost benefit and short-term, long-term, but strike while the iron is hot as part of your analysis, because I would do absolutely everything I could were I the Packers to maximize the time when Aaron is on this team. And there are holes on that roster.
Without question, I echo that. Strike while the iron's hot. I mean, it shouldn't be a novel concept, but on occasion it is around the NFL, specifically when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. Amy, huge Raiders win in Cleveland. I was impressed with the style, how they won the game. They're 4-3. They got the Chargers on CBS coming up this weekend. Can we start talking about the Raiders and the playoffs?
I think that's fair, and I'll put a couple of notes on that. Tremendous win, very impressive win over Kansas City. Unimpressive losses to Buffalo and Tampa Bay, rebounded with a win in Cleveland. So if the Raiders can cure those inconsistencies, particularly inconsistencies on defense, sometimes good, sometimes not, then yes, I think playoffs are absolutely in reach. You noted the Charger game this weekend. If you look at the rest of the schedule, which I see you're now showing, that's a very, very favorable schedule. So resolve those inconsistencies, and sure, those playoffs are definitely within reach.
I said playoffs and 10 wins for the Raiders preseason. You see the schedule. I'm feeling pretty good about that prediction. Amy, I was also a bit surprised that people are surprised that the Patriots are not any good. What's your overall read here on the New England Patriots?
I just got so upset I pulled the microphone out of my ear. Hold on. See how upset that makes me? I pulled the microphone out of my ear.
The beauty of television. I love it.
Right. Look, the Patriots lost 19 players this offseason that were either starters or significant contributors. 8 of those men left as part of the COVID virus opt-out. And the reason I note that is those were very late opt-outs as the season progressed, close to the start of play. So I don't think it's appropriate to be leveling the allegations or accusations at Bill Belichick that I hear leveled. I also don't think a Brady without Belichick or Belichick without Brady analysis is appropriate, because there are so many variables one has to factor in to that analysis. So I think that the comparisons and the criticisms, if you will, maybe that's a better word than allegations and accusations, but there you go. That's my lawyer background. The criticisms are unwarranted. I think they're silly at this point. It doesn't make sense. You've got to account for all those variables.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just surprised people are surprised. And Brady was going to be great with Tampa and the Patriots. Listen, I think it's the most impressive dynasty in the history of sports. It was time for it to end based upon the roster configuration. We're on the exact same page, Amy. All right, let's end on a positive note. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, yes to what you said. The man's got 6 Super Bowl rings, and I think people were waiting for this moment in time, sort of teed up, waiting to kind of hit that ball slow and easy across the center of the plate.
You're 100% right, and honestly, it makes absolutely positively zero sense. What's your biggest surprise, in a positive way, Amy, after 8 weeks of this NFL season?
Couple big surprises, and for right now, I'll go with Miami. Miami has had 2 very impressive games in the last, or impressive wins and impressive games in the last 3. Beat the Rams. Prior to that, they went to San Francisco, beat the 49ers there. They're 4-3, but as I noted, 2 of the last 3 against teams that have been playing well at times, very well at times. So I'd say Miami, we all know that they were trying to grow something, trying to build something, and I'm pleasantly surprised with where they are in that process.
New York Jets general manager Joe Douglas says Adam Gase is part of the solution. I don't believe him. Look, what was Joe Douglas going to do when he met the media in New York? Say Adam Gase is the worst, his offense is offensive, he's last in the NFL in all the major categories, he likes to run Frank Gore, who's 98 years old, up the middle, he has awful body language, he's got a loser's lament, and I can't believe the clown that was the GM before me actually had the nerve and the chutzpah and the audacity to hire Adam Gase. Really? What was he going to say? Here's the deal when it comes to Adam Gase. I have a better chance of coaching the Jets next year than Adam Gase. I have a better chance of coaching Trevor Lawrence when it's all said and done than Adam Gase. The reason why Adam Gase is still employed is because if you fire your coach, there's always a chance you win one for the interim one. Go take a look at what happened with the Falcons or the Houston Texans. I mean, these nuggets of futility are just offensive to the senses. The New York Jets under Adam Gase are atrocious. They are pathetic. And when they get the #1 overall pick, they are going to take Trevor Lawrence, and it's going to be one of the great days the New York Jets have ever had. And Adam Gase is going to have to watch it from his couch. There is no chance he coaches the Jets next season. 0. And Trevor Lawrence is going to be involved, I'm sure, in picking the next head coach. And Trevor Lawrence, when he goes to the Jets with that #1 overall pick, he'll be able to say, well, I want Eric Bieniemy or Arthur Smith or Joe Brady or insert great offensive mind here. And here's the deal. When you see the worst records on the screen, the Jets can't afford to win a game. It just can't happen. Because if you win one, you might lose a #1 overall pick. There are a ton of bad teams in the National Football League. And I'm going to give you a prediction which is not crazy. If, in fact, the Jets lose every game going up until Week 17 and they face the New England Patriots, who are not in the mix for the playoffs, can't you see Belichick not playing a soul? So this way he doesn't have to see Trevor Lawrence in that division for the remainder of his career in New England? Now that I say it out loud, you could see it, right? Trust me, they're going to keep Adam Gase to make sure they keep losing ball games because Joe Douglas is keeping his eye on the prize of Trevor Lawrence. Listen, I actually believe that Joe Douglas believes that just in case, as we just talked about, they don't get the number one overall pick. Then yes, we love Sam Darnold. And those word choices are spot on when he talks about Sam Darnold's talent and his grit and his toughness. Look, I believe that Joe Douglas believes in Sam Darnold. I believe the rest of the league believes that if you can get Sam Darnold out of New York and unjet him, if you will, Sam Darnold can live up to his potential and be a great quarterback. And I'm not throwing that word around. Listen, Sam Darnold has nobody around him. Look at that. That's the Jets' leading rusher and receiver this season. It's like the scene from Major League. Frank Gore? I thought that guy was dead. Well, cross him off then. I mean, the offensive line is a mess. They don't have any receivers. Frank Gore is 98 years old. I mean, what are we talking about here? Sam Darnold is 23. Now, if they don't get the number one pick, or, if Trey Lance is not their guy, if they get the number two pick, you stay with Sam Darnold. I would absolutely stay with Sam Darnold. And I'll tell you, the rest of the league is going to be watching the Sam Darnold situation, because really there's going to be a market for Sam Darnold if the Jets get the number one overall pick. And I'm telling you right now, there are going to be teams lining up for a mid-20-year-old Sam Darnold. This guy has a ton of talent, smarts, arm, athleticism, leadership. And I'm telling you right now, can you imagine him playing for Kyle Shanahan or behind Quentin Nelson and that offensive line? Can you imagine the irony of Kevin Stefanski and the brass in Cleveland, Andrew Berry, the new general manager, who didn't pick Baker Mayfield, if they kicked Baker Mayfield out and said, you know what? We actually prefer the guy who went 3 overall in that 2018 draft as opposed to Baker, who went number 1. Washington will definitely be in the conversation for a quarterback. You're going to see teams that aren't even on that list have interest in Sam Darnold. There is no doubt in my mind there will be a market for him. And once he leaves the chaos of Adam Gase and New York, Sam Darnold will absolutely be a great player. You know what's amazing about that? Antonio Brown meets the media today for the first time as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's wearing a TB12 hat. Not a Buccaneers hat, a TB12 hat, because Antonio Brown didn't sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He signed with Tom Brady, just like he did in New England. And I am fascinated to see what AB brings to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think it's going to be a tremendous, tremendous ride. I think he's going to make an impact right away. I think he's going to be great when you look at it this Sunday against New Orleans. Look, here's the one game that he played with New England. Can he give the Buccaneers this on Sunday night, including a touchdown? Oh, you betcha. He already has a rapport with Tom Brady, so you don't have to worry about that. He's living at Tom Brady's house, as Jason La Canfora broke that story over the weekend. And listen, I know that obviously a lot of people despise Antonio Brown for all the right reasons. He has done some horrible things off the field. He torpedoed the Raiders season, which, I mean, it's crazy to think what he did last year to Oakland after they gave him all that money and made the trade. He is unequivocally a first ballot Hall of Fame clown. He's also unequivocally a first ballot Hall of Fame wide receiver. He has been tremendous. Love him or loathe him, he has been absolutely incredible at the wide receiver position. The minute he steps on the field, you have to account for him, which means Mike Evans gets better the minute Sunday night rolls around. I am so fascinated to see how this plays, and I think it's going to be brilliant right away for Tom Brady and the Buccaneers starting on Sunday night.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.